Yeah, me. So yeah, Pooran, I've been working in sustainability for 35 years and working across all sectors. Actually, I'm based in the UK, but I've worked around the world. And over the last 4 years, I've been building a platform to help people collaborate, particularly being used in the UK by local governments and regional governments like national parks here, national park authorities. So looking forward to sharing that with you. So Marina, do you want to go? I think everyone knows you probably, but do you want to go? Anyway, you're frozen for me now. So I'm just going through the list on my top. While
Yes,
Marina,
I think that something is not very.
Yeah.
Yes, I will stop my video. Maybe you can hear me better.
That works.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
So just a couple of words, and I will not into for the presentation, just not to spoil everything with my connection. So my name is Marina Demchenko. Now I'm based in the UK, originally Russian. I'm the co-founder of Living Cities Earth and operations director in Living Cities Earth. I'm happy to welcome everyone today in our Happy Cities Marathon events. So today is one of such events, and we are trying to bring to the world the vision of how we can help people in 10,000 cities be fully alive and human well together for this aliveness in connection with each other, with nature, with cities, and with all good which could be provided by humans, not only for human beings but for the whole planet. So sorry for again for my being unable to be fully with you, but I'm hearing, I'm with you, and if needed, I will connect. So who will be the next?
Thanks, Marina. I've got Paul next up on my screen.
Hi, I'm an ex-architect. Like Pooran, I've worked all around the world. In the later stages of work in foreign aid, overseas aid. And now I'm enjoying myself publishing a book on called Urban Hub on urban and drivable world. So it's kind of my sort of working hobby. Okay,
Brilliant.
Back to you.
Thanks, Paul. And then Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine Alexander. I'm in Spokane, Washington. I have been involved in sustainability probably 30 years as well, but from a values perspective. So I'm now doing regenerative leadership with using Earth's core values to help people really reseat themselves in the planet, to come from the planet's perspective in what they do. And I'm also working with my city, which is why I'm here, Spokane. So I'm very interested in what we're doing.
Okay.
And my goal here is to have the city institutionalize soil regeneration as something that all residents can do to help us maintain our aquifer.
Wow. Okay. Thanks so much, Catherine. And then Ferial.
So I have recently, I am a co-founder for Living Cities Earth, but I've also recently agreed to help with more of the strategy part of what we do in Living Cities Earth as to how we will reach some of the objectives that we have. So that's an exciting journey. But my kind of background is I also originally started as an architect, but I didn't really work in the field of architecture. So I kind of moved over into internal architecture. So it really is about that for me. For me, it is, I think we design from a place, when we design from when we are totally happy, we design something different. So I think it is for me about how do we landscape the internal so that we can create the environment and inside of ourselves where we carry a frequency that allows us to design so much better on the outside, so much more connected in with everything. So this is a lot of what my work is about. But I also wear various different hats. And one of my main ones at the moment is I accepted an opportunity to work with the Khoi and the San people of Southern Africa, wow, where I am now the ambassador to the UK for the koi and the sun. And so they are people that are our original ancestor, all of ours. And I think there is a key to how they provided peace on this planet for, I think, in excess of 150,000 years, which tells me there's something about what they did that we need to know. So yeah.
Brilliant.
And I work closely with Marina, the lovely Marina.
And where are you based?
Oh, I am originally from South Africa, born in
Yeah.
Cape Town, but I am now for the last 20 years based in Scotland, just outside of Edinburgh.
Okay, Scotland, brilliant.
Yes.
And James or Gian, is that right?
Yes, Gian, yes. Both right.
Great.
James is my legal first name, and then Gian is my Cantonese the name I use most often now.
Yeah.
So I am from Cape Town, and same city as Paul, I believe.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to get together one day, Paul, since we're in the same city. And I've been a co-founder for a organization called Stop, Reset, Go, based on a 3-step meme for rapid whole system change. So we've been working for the last decade, I suppose, on sense making and developing strategies for rapid whole system change. And one of these is it's kind of an integrated strategy of inner and outer transformation, but the outer transformation is I think related to the work that you're doing, Poonan, I believe. We've been developing a concept for a festival for scaling social tipping points before planetary tipping points, and we've been looking at ways to downscale planetary boundaries to a city scale. So that's my kind of interest in joining the Living Cities organization, because we also had this kind of concept of reaching 10,000 cities. So our strategy is kind of based on developing that inner and outer transformation, and that can be implemented in cities and towns around the globe. And of course, Ferial's been working with us for the last few years as well on developing important aspects of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, James. Gian, which do you prefer, James or Gian?
Gian.
Yes.
Gian.
Okay,
Thank
Gian. Gian. Okay, brilliant. Well, thanks so much for all of you coming today. I know some of you will have heard some of you will have already had a little bit of background to OnePlanet from a previous LCE presentation, but I think people are on at different stages on that understanding. So I'm just wondering if we just quickly go around, what would you like to get from today? And I can make sure that I deliver it, and we'll deliver it within, the main part of it within the next 45 minutes, so that whoever needs to go can go, but they've got the main part of it. And then anyone who wants to stay on a bit longer, very happy to stay on a bit longer. But maybe we can just go around and I can just get an idea of what you would like to get from this session, and I'll tailor it that way. So Paul, do you want to start again?
No, I'm just listening to whatever you give, actually.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe Paul, then I'll just talk through why we've built the platform in the way we've built it. I'll then show you how we're using it, for example, with a national park here. But our national parks have lots of towns in it as well, and they're close to cities. So it's people and nature, bringing people and nature together. But you'll see the system, and it is being used by cities as well. So I will. I'll make sure that's covered. Catherine?
Well, with the idea of getting residents involved in soil regeneration, I'm looking for ways to connect them, to make it perhaps a game, even a little competitive, about what is your neighborhood the most that kind of thing, to engage them in the process in a faster way.
Okay, great. Great, thanks, Catherine. So just to say, our platform at the moment connects organizations together. It can be used by individuals, but it's not primarily used by individuals. But sometime next year, we want to, well, we are integrating with other applications, but also we want to create a simple version of what we're doing so that everything can connect together, including, so have a citizen app. But it would be great to get your thoughts on what you would really like, and that will feed into our roadmap anyway, or if there are particular apps you're already using, we can look at integrating with those. So thanks, Catherine. Ferial?
So for me, it would be my first strategic hat of how do we help to integrate what you're doing with work that others are doing within Living Cities Earth. So this is really important for me. So in other words, how it really practically works. And then the other part of why I'm interested in is probably overlapping with a little bit of what Catherine's interested in, because we're designing the smart cities for Cape Town and the Northern Cape and other parts of Africa, which I'm looking at it from the technology point of view. How can this serve what we're doing there? Yeah. Because the idea is that we find this integrated approach of the various different technologies that we're designing. So I want to be able to understand how that gets augmented together.
Okay, great. Okay. And how many, just as an idea, how many sort of initiatives are there in LCE now? How many founders are there? They're co-founders, I should say.
Oh, when I last checked, we were over 80, right, Marina?
Marina, it might be more than that now. Is that right? Or
I don't know what's happened in the last few days, but when I checked, it was already 80.
Okay, 80. Okay, brilliant. And each of those running an initiative, Ferial, so it's about 80 different initiatives or
and
so?
Some of them are running several initiatives, not just one, and then they're connected with strategic partners, these kind of things. So we're actually doing this entire mapping process at the moment as well. And so that's quite a bit of work of how do you augment, but there, and it's beautiful to see how one aspect can serve another, you know, and how it also creates that cascading effect of if you put this and that together, what happens? So I'm really looking at it from this perspective. That's why I know, so Gian only mentioned one aspect of what we're working on, but another aspect is a big one called the Indie Web, which he will be presenting in a little, you know, in
another one of these sessions.
Weeks. And it would be good for you to hear that, because I think there's, I don't want to go too much into it, but it's really redesigning the internet as we know it. You know, so it's brilliant work.
That's brilliant. Gian, do you want to say what you would like out of this, or what you're hoping to hear?
Yeah, I think Ferial provided a good segue into what I have to say. So yeah, I've been working for the last few years quite intensely with another colleague, Hungarian software architect. He's actually a knowledge architect, and he's been developing this system for the last 2 to 3 decades, based on his PhD work. And it's basically a knowledge system, a Web3 knowledge system that's kind of follows on the work of Douglas Engelbart. One way to look at it is thought augmentation tools, but the way I look at it is it's a system for both for tracing individual and collective evolution of consciousness. So it's a software system that's actually designed to do that and allow people. It's not a platform as such; it's an ecosystem, and it's so it can be used by anyone. It could be integrated and synthesized into your own work, for instance. Okay, so it's a way to actually, how can I put it? It's a way to actually trace your own consciousness, your own learning as an individual, and in small groups, like you know, of 100 or 1,000 people.
Brilliant. So maybe after you've got a flavor of what we're doing, it'll be great. I'll ask you, you know, how do you think what do you call it, by the way, Gian?
It's called the Indie Web, and it builds also something called the Indra Web. Based on the Indra's net of jewels.
Yeah, Indra's net, absolutely.
Because it also provides then, as much as he's saying it's not a platform, it does provide for other applications to be built inside of it, with that kind of infrastructure in place. So this is why it would be interesting for you. And Jury has built it in such a way so that it's interoperable with whatever else is built in it. And then what happens is that you're able to, even if you've built for example, OnePlanet in another framework, you can plug it into that. I mean, this is according to what I understand, right, Gian? And so I'm hoping that I'm correct. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, and Marina, as you're on the call, is there something you would really like to get from today or understand from today?
Well, I think that the most important part for me is to provide that everything is working for today. So maybe some sort of technical role more because of my being somehow because of the constraints. Yes, and I attended your previous presentation, and I'm really impressed by the OnePlanet approach and the platform. And I really hope that today we will be able to, with the participation of Gian and Ferial, and of course, I hope that maybe Paul and Catherine also could contribute something, find ways to align different approaches together. It's really important for us, both for Living Cities Earth, and I think that for our capacity to provide the meaningful change in cities. So that's my big overarching goal for today.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Thanks a lot. And if anyone, part of this was an opportunity. If anyone wants to have a go on the system, create an account and have a go, I can talk you through it, and we can try connecting up a couple of plans as well. So there is that opportunity. But first of all, I'll just share screens. I'll give 5-minute, 10-minute run through just on the background, and it'll be good. Just stop me at any point and ask questions. I do make it a little bit challenging at a couple of points, just to keep things lively and to stimulate debate. But here I'll talk through. Is that working? Okay, can you? I'm hoping you can see that. So if someone just nods, that would be great.
Yes, we see that.
So OnePlanet is a platform. Really behind it, its idea is to connect the dots for joined up action. And well, it's being used actually across all sectors. We give it free to community groups, but it's being used by councils, our local governments in the UK, national parks, but we've got users, schools as well are using it. So it helps connect any stakeholder or any person together around what we call shared outcomes. So and I'll explain where that comes from. So for me, at the core of sustainability, I think we're all we're all on the same page, that actually everything, we're realizing just how much everything is interconnected. What we build determines how much we use our cars. If those cars are internal combustion engine cars, they're creating pollutants, damaging our health, contributing to climate change, supporting the oil industry, which also creates single-use plastics, ending up in the oceans, filling fish up with plastics. If we choose to eat those fish, we fill ourselves up with microplastics. Don't know yet what that's doing to our health, but it's also killing penguins on the other side of the world. So we just are absolutely realizing that everything is interconnected. Of course, that is more typically recognized in Eastern cultures and in indigenous cultures. It is there in Western culture as well, but has become less prominent. So it's this understanding of interconnectedness which we have lost, or which we need to help people understand. But yeah, it's built on 30 years of sustainability experience. I won't go through this, but I created a framework called OnePlanet Living with 10 very simple principles, which we applied around the world on various projects. We are in a new reality. We're crossing those climate tipping points pretty quickly now. The extreme weather events all around the year this year, it's probably going to get worse next year as El Nino really kicks in. So the focus of the platform now is our mission as a company is to help give people the tools to organize themselves into resilient, regenerative communities and regions. So and around them to help them organize and contribute, whether it's local government contributing to that, companies contributing to that, citizens contributing to that, community groups contributing. So help reorganize around this idea of resilient regenerative communities. Wherever we are in the world, it's going to be very challenging. I think, how many people might be displaced? What will that cause in terms of geopolitical instability? So all sorts of issues. So we have to help people where they are organized into resilient regenerative communities. I'm just going to stop there for a moment. If anyone, has anything they would like to contribute under this core mission. Any thoughts? If not, I'll carry on. But yeah, James, please.
Okay, thanks. I'll just lower that hand first. Okay. Yeah, I think what you said in your opening statement resonated with what our project is doing. We actually talk about the Eastern concept of emptiness or shunyata, and we talk about operationalizing shunyata because of the complexity. There's a metaphor we use in my presentation. Because emptiness consists of two components, emptiness and change. So we map that over to complexity in ecosystems and evolution. Yeah. So just want to say that there's a close connection to what your perspective is.
Yeah, thanks, Gian. And I think what I'm saying is not rocket science or anything new. It's I think we're the thinking that we all share in this space. I think. Particularly in this regenerative space. So what's the sort of new thinking? Again, absolutely nothing special about what I've put up here, but we need new thinking. We might call it systems thinking, whatever. But at the moment, we're tearing our hair out trying to deal with issues in silos. The cost of living crisis, of course, food prices going up, energy prices have been problematic. In the UK, at least, we're often trying to solve that in a way which just makes the climate emergency worse. So, Ferrell, yeah, sorry, I didn't see your hand. Yeah. Oh, and you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just going to add to what Gian had said that so because of the work that we were doing, we'd kind of written several papers and things like that I think would support a lot of what you're trying to talk about here as well. So maybe afterwards we can let you have some of that, because I think this would be good to then how do we relate that to everybody else, if that makes sense? Because I know that we think similarly, but very often it's how you bring that all together. Yeah. So this is some of the work that we have done, which I think could be helpful.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I'll just share some things later around emergence and things like that, just how if we leave people to collaborate in ecosystems, what emerges from that. So I think that's it'd be really interesting to find out more, and very well perhaps we set up a separate call or something to explore that, depending on time. So yeah, we're trying to solve issues and tearing our hair out solving issues in silos, and I'm going to, if I'm being a bit cynical, it's whoever shouts loudest this month gets a policy to keep them quiet. And there's no reason for that policy to be joined to any other policy. So we're becoming more and more fragmented. We can't, I think people are realizing we just can't carry on like this because we're not solving we're not creating a better world by trying to solve things in silos. So instead of that, can we get out of this mess? Almost take a deep breath. I always think of it as take a deep breath. Everyone's run off their feet. They can't do anything. Just take some time, be quiet, spend just even half a day or whatever, thinking about what is it you want to achieve? How does that fit together? And then with other people, think about, okay, what outcomes do you share? So we talk about collaborating in ecosystems around shared outcomes across traditional silos of different sectors, public, private, voluntary sector, across different organizations, and then even different departments within the same organization. Often they're not working towards shared outcomes. So we're tending to work in our silos. Instead of that, can we think about what are the outcomes we share, and can we collaborate in ecosystems around those shared outcomes and make those shared outcomes, understand how those fit together so that everyone in the ecosystem can contribute to more or less all those shared outcomes. Does that sort of make sense so far? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, again, not rocket science, but just put your hand up. I'll keep an eye out. Just stick your hand up if you want to comment, say anything at any point. Okay, thanks. Good. So systems thinking, which I think, this is all about, if you like, can get very abstract and very difficult for just ordinary people to understand or have the time to understand. So I love this quote from Buckminster Fuller: if you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't try and teach them. Instead, just give them a tool which will lead to new ways of thinking. So so there's a lot of fantastic thinking around systems thinking, definitions, all of this, but it's not easy for just people to engage with in a practical way. So we've created a platform which very easily people can take any project, strategy, plan, or project, so anything they're working on. And this is primarily a workplace tool. Okay, I know the divisions between work and personal life and things like that, but so we're primarily developed it at this stage as a workplace tool, but we do want to link out then to citizens, and some citizens are using it anyway. So it's a workplace tool. So how can we take anything you're working on, any plan, project, policy, strategy? We can take that, break it down into this simple structure. We call it the atomic structure or the building blocks of a plan. So at the moment, when people write plans, policies, strategies, people are using different taxonomies or different structures. They might talk about objectives, they might talk about goals, they might talk about tasks, they might talk about KPIs. So everyone is using a different language. So it's very difficult, for example, to start connecting those plans together, because half the time goes in trying to think, okay, what do they mean by a goal? Is it the same as an objective here? So we've come to the simplest form we think that you can break it down into, which is outcomes, what you want to achieve. So you might stick your goals in your outcomes, actions, what are you doing to achieve those outcomes? And then indicators, what you might track, and you might set targets for some of those indicators. Then you can, with these three components, you can see how they link together within your plan, for example. So how internally coherent is your plan? Are your actions contributing to the multiple outcomes that you want to achieve? So you can be more holistic, if you like, within your plan. But then because you can connect, because you can do this for any number of plans, policies, strategies, plans, or projects, you can connect as many of them as you like together around this common structure, identify them, what are the shared outcomes or shared indicators, and use those to connect all those different plans together. So explore other people's plans and understand what you share, collaborate around what you share. So look for the synergies, but then also look at where your conflicts are and look then at how you can reduce those conflicts. Yeah, Catherine, and then Ferial, yeah.
So I am seeing, and you please tell me if I'm correct or not, that this sounds like it could be used for city planning and particularly around donut economics strategies.
Absolutely. So yes, we can, cities are using it for city planning, for coordination of connecting their existing strategies across transport, health, climate, whatever. They are starting to use it for that. So absolutely. And we can add different indicators into it. So absolutely, you can have shared indicators around donut economics. And in fact, we've got them in our platform somewhere. So thanks, and Ferial.
So I'm looking at it from the perspective of, can we use this to organize? And basically, in a sense, I'm wondering, because maybe you could help me out. Is your mapping system based on what they originally used, for example, in the Kumio system? Or was it designed completely on its own? Because it kind of feels that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, we developed it in parallel to perform a very specific function. So, Kumu has got mind mapping and other functionality.
Yeah.
It is specifically around really joining the dot. Yeah. So I don't know all the latest Kumu functionality. I mean, maybe you can connect different workspaces or whatever together in Kumu as well.
So they've obviously grown quite a bit now as well, you know, but in essence, I'm asking, can we use this? Because this looks like an amazing tool for us to actually organize Living Cities Earth itself, you know, because I'm thinking about, and then I guess maybe on another conversation, we could talk about the depth with which you can actually do that, because I can see that for the initial kind of environment, I mean, setting out our outcomes, doing all of that, but how deep can we go, for example, with specific aspects of Living Cities Earth? And then having, because it's almost like you have to have sub outcomes and sub actions, and because you've got different groups working on different aspects of the development of Living Cities Earth.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in that, actually.
Yeah, Ferry, I'll show you. I'll demo with the South Downs National Park. I'll show you, for example, how shared outcomes can be linked to global outcomes. You know, and you can have in effect 3 levels of outcomes in our system. You can have a plan-specific outcome, an ecosystem outcome, and then a global outcome as well. So, and you can navigate between those in different ways.
Beautiful. I'm loving it.
Yeah, but you know, the mind map is great. So we'll have 3 views in it, actually, or 4 views, if you like, but 3 views. One is a mind map of outcomes, actions, indicators. It's very playful. But then when you're actually implementing a project, you need to get into much more linear mindset, if you like. You know, these are the tasks I need to do, task 1, 2, 3. It automatically converts it into a table for you of tasks, so you can use it for task management. And then you can create reports at the click of a button across your whole ecosystem and slice and dice it in any way. So you can say, okay, what's this organization doing? Or you can say, well, what are all the organizations doing around this shared outcome? So you can create a report on that. You can create a whole report, which will be just, you know, potentially hundreds of pages, but you can just slice and dice it in any way you want. And you can filter it in any way you want. So, and then we can also publish online so that you can make the mind maps or your plans totally public, or you can keep them private as you wish. But because we've also, we use fundamentally different database structures for this. So again, you're probably familiar, but maybe others are. But in computing, there are 2 fundamentally different 2 types of databases. SQL type, SQL type, which is Excel type databases, where the information is held in rows and columns, and they're the ones which predominate. And then there are these, technically they're known as graph databases, but probably easier to understand as network databases, where they hold information primarily on the basis of its interconnectedness. So we are using the graph databases, and in fact now, you know, to some extent, both databases can do the function of the other. But we started with a graph database that's built on the leading graph database called Neo4j, which Guillaume probably has heard about. But because we've got this different database structure, we can rearrange information really, really quickly. So we can create what we call these lenses. So anyone can apply any number of lenses onto their plan. So there are different ways everyone has a different way of looking at the world. We're all ultimately looking at the same world, but everyone has a different way of looking at it. And we all create different frameworks or lenses, or we have different frameworks or sets of principles in which to understand the world. So we've got the SDGs. In the UK, we've got BREEAM, which is a Green Building Council. You know, then the Royal Institute of British Architects as their various stages. Then you've got B Corp. I mean, I don't know, does Living Cities Earth have its set of principles? I'm not sure it's got a common set of principles, but everyone, Sorry, Catherine, are you saying something?
Well, I have my own set of principles.
You have your own set of principles.
They're not mine, they're Earth's, but yes.
Yeah. So that could be a lens on here. So And you can just flip between these lenses to understand either from your own perspective or someone else's perspective. And so, yeah, so we can get different and we got this problem of interconnectedness in sustainability. For example, cities are often using their own framework, or they might be using something like C40 Cities framework, or the Eco-City Builders framework, whatever. Then you've got architects using LEED or Green Star or whatever. Then you've got companies using B Corp, or I don't know what other certifications are, but there's so many certifications there. And it's hard then for these different sectors to collaborate. So we have the lenses function, which enables that to happen.
Wow.
But yeah, it's enabling business. You know, local government is primarily who we're working with at the moment, but it's also engaging with communities and businesses, and you know, we're also adding things like linking to geospatial mapping. So you can have a conceptual map, but it can be linked to a geographic map. Catherine, by the way, we've just got a contract to use it for in Seattle for the 2026 World Cup host city bid, but it will be mapping, they'll be using it to map all their different stakeholders, and the aim is to leave it as a legacy for the city of Seattle, so all their different stakeholders can collaborate around shared outcomes. So we're starting to use that, and we've got some architecture companies using it as well in the UK and US. So okay. So my background's actually in neuroscience, so I've come full circle. I was involved over 35 years ago in the very early days of neural network modeling, which now underpins, you know, a lot of the AI stuff. But anyway, I came from the biological rather than the technological side. But the latest neuroscience has become very clear. I don't know who's heard of the work of Ian McGilchrist.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I love left brain, right brain stuff.
yeah. In this space, I think, but
and he's a Scot.
And he's Scottish, yeah. But I sort of describe him as, you know, I often describe him as the greatest intellectual of our time. You know, I think he's up there. Yeah,
I love him.
With him, he's my number one at the moment in terms of intellectual. I think communicating, he's just too much of an egghead for most people. You know, too academic in his communication. But any, including me, think his work is as important as Darwin in terms of creating a paradigm. By the way, a lot of people misunderstand Darwin as well, that he was just much more spiritual than people think. But people didn't, you know, don't put his work in the context of him understanding there was a bigger spiritual dimension to all of this. So anyway, but basically the tools we have in our culture are all left brain tools, and they've been built on. In fact, there was a great battle in, someone told me, in the 1950s, 60s in computing between these two databases, the linear databases, the SQL type databases and the Excel type databases and these graph databases. And in fact, the left or the linear thinking ones won out at that time. So all the tools we've got really now are, at least in the workplace, or mostly, I would say not all, but vast majority of tools we have in the workplace are basically left hemisphere tools, focusing on the detail, doing things in a linear way. And actually, when we have complex systems, when reality is really much more interconnected, we don't have the tools in the workplace to access that side of our brain and that way of thinking. And in fact, it's, you know, the right hemisphere is more connected to reality. The left hemisphere is not connected, is absolutely not connected to reality, and it's less intelligent. So we're not giving people the tools in the workplace to unlock the more intelligent half of their brain. So, and for me, so our mission as a company is to help people join the dots. That's our company mission, to join the dots for more joined up action, or to connect the dots for more joined up action to create resilient regenerative communities. My personal mission is to help people, rescue people trapped in their spreadsheets. Because actually, for me, what's most interesting now is what's not in your spreadsheet. And you have to be absolutely 100% aware that managing your spreadsheet is not connected to reality. And you have to, in order to use your spreadsheet effectively, that's not to say a spreadsheet isn't a good tool, but you need to spend more time understanding what's not in your spreadsheet in order for you to make change in the real world. So, for example, and in fact, all of us, or most of us, have used spreadsheets. I'm going to give this very simple example of just how problematic using spreadsheets is. So, for example, if we wanted to model in a spreadsheet a healthy forest, now we know that's a positive reciprocal interaction, say, between trees and fungi. Yeah, we know that the trees photosynthesize, capture the sun's energy, create sugars, which partly they use themselves, but partly they feed to the fungi, who in return provide them back the micronutrients, and then you get a healthy ecosystem. Okay, which generates itself. So not only regenerates but generates itself. Now, if you put that into Excel, you've got sunlight coming in, then you got photosynthesis creating sugars, and then you got sugars feeding them the fungi, and then you got the fungi feeding back micronutrients, which increases the ability of the plants to create sugars. Okay, now you put that in your spreadsheet, and you'll get error circular reference. Yeah, I mean, how many times, I don't know if you use spreadsheets, but how many times have you put in, linked two cells together and got error circular reference? Anyone done that? No? No, you haven't used spreadsheets in that way, where you realize two things are interconnected. But anyway, it gives you it says error circular reference. So unless you've got the very advanced versions of Excel, you basically take it out. And that circular reference is the most important thing in reality. It's how things are generated. And so most people working in Excels, and often you get this, you realize that's important, but you don't put it, you take it out because Excel doesn't let you do it. And then you try and manage the world without the most important references in it, the most important links in it, because Excel doesn't like it, because it's non-linear. And in fact, things emerge in nature in a non-linear way. Does that make sense? So no wonder we are in a mess, because we are managing things without the most important references or connections in there. So anyway, that's a little bit of abstract theory of why we're doing that. But so we solve three interconnected challenges. We can align strategies and plans, we can communicate and engage, and we can embed action. So that's what we're doing with our platform. And yeah, I mean, some of our customers are saying, we can't manage our strategy with lots of Excels. Understanding connections is driving our new strategy. So councils, cities are actually changing their strategies based on seeing how things interconnect. Made a very complex and often ongoing process simple, accessible, dynamic interface allows our teams to collaborate. So anyway, so it's working in practice, and we're our customers use it. They are, we've got almost 100% resubscription rate, and they're moving from 1-year subscriptions to 3-year subscriptions. So it's still hard for us to get in there because it's a completely different way of working. You've got to have the person who understands. Some people who are a bit too trapped in the left hemisphere just get phased by the mind map. They think it's chaos, and other people really take to it. Yeah, there's an interesting dynamic there. So I'll actually show you that. I'll stop for a minute, but then I'll actually show you the platform, and then I can share how it works in practice. Anyone want to ask any questions, say anything, or no? Okay. So I will share screens. Let me just make sure I'm logged in. Okay, I will share screens. Yeah, where's mine? Just get back to the share button. Actually, I'll share my whole screen. It'll be easier in case things go. Okay, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll put you here and just put your hand up if you need anything. So I've logged in myself, but I am a member of various different workspaces, as we call them. Okay, so one person can be a member of a number of different workspaces, and those workspaces can be single plans or they can be ecosystems. I can show you, for example, I'm a member of Compost Club. So this is a business which recycles or takes people's green waste, and I can just look at their plan there. I'll just show you the mind map of that. So this is one created by it's a small business, and he created this little mind map of what he's doing, contributing to all the different, in this case, the OnePlanet Living principles. I don't think he's used another lens, but this is OnePlanet Living. So, for example, we can see he's got an action of new sites. So he goes in, sets up sites for composting green waste. But you can see also he's now collecting, he's using reclaimed collection buckets. So you can see what he's doing on, materials and products and waste. He, of course, collects waste food as well. So it's contributing to a circular economy outcome. He is now using, I know this, so I can just show you here. He's added a little story here of now, welcome to our new EV. So now he's not only collecting the waste, but he's also doing it in a low carbon vehicle. So we can explore what he's doing around all sorts of things. So, he's collecting rainwater on his sites as well. So what's he doing for sustainable water? He's looking at human scale production. He's running training courses to support culture and community. He's tracking the emissions he's saved. He's looking at, and he donates compost. So how much has he donated? So he set that up as an indicator. He's contributing to soil regeneration. So you can start seeing he's a business in waste, but he's contributing holistically. Does that make sense? So people can actually see that. You can also automatically generate a report if you want, so he can change anything in that, and it automatically generates this report, including if he's added a new story, for example. I need to move you here. You can see his story automatically gets added here, and he can remove it if he wants to. So he can generate a report for different people in different lenses as well. So you could change this to Catherine, your lens, your principles. He would just switch, add that lens, and it allocate what he's doing to your lens, and then at the click of a button, he automatically then has it in your format. So it's helping people on a practical basis who have to report to different audiences, and everyone wants the same data, just in different formats. Okay, so that's that. I will then move to, let me go back. Where do I go back? So I'll move now to the, and he's made this public, so I can show you later. You can go to the OnePlanet website, you can search Compost Club, and then you can see all of this. You can keep it private, or he's just made it public. So I will move now to South Downs ecosystem. Where's that? I need to just find it. So we completed a 3-month pilot with the South Downs National Park, which covers quite a large area of the southeast of England, so it's got different county councils, different city councils or local councils around it, very complex, lots of stakeholders. And so they were having trouble understanding what all their different stakeholders were doing, supporting them actually, and them supporting, and their stakeholders supporting them. So what we did was we took In fact, we got more now, but initially in this, we worked with 30 of their stakeholders. So it's everything from an energy services company to a solar farm to this is a green business initiative, to the local football club, to a district council there who is working. So all these plans are now mapped in our system. And it takes about an hour to train someone to do it. We're also looking at maybe doing it with AI, but actually I like people to do it manually because it gets that right hemisphere working with the left hemisphere. It's not just information, it becomes embodied if you're doing something practical. And Ferial, I see your hands up.
Sorry, because I've got to go at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I that was my question actually was, you know, what time commitment is there to train somebody? Because obviously you got to know how to use it. And then the question also comes in for having more than one user, for example, like let's say in Living Cities Earth, you want different people to be contributing information to this.
Yeah.
Is that, how does that work?
So how does that work? So with yeah, I'll show you just so what we did was all of these are mapped, and they can be either within this package or they can be separate. Actually, people can have their own packages and connect to this ecosystem, and they connect to the ecosystem via what we call the ecosystem plan. So this is what this ecosystem wants to achieve in terms of shared outcomes. Okay, so we can see around, you know, there's wetland restoration, for example, there's happy and healthy communities, there's, you know, community-owned renewable energy as an outcome they want to achieve. There's fundraising for local groups. They called it, you know, equitable prosperity. There's a net zero South Downs by 2045. And what we can see then is, I will go to what we call connections overview. So here now, you can look at, say, the shared outcomes. So, okay, so I'm going to look at the shared outcome. So here are the shared outcomes for the ecosystem. Climate resilience, happy, healthy communities, national park for all, fundraising. Does someone want to shout out a shared outcome you want to see?
Yeah, for Living Cities Earth or just any shared?
Yeah, or just on here, you know. I mean, let's look at here, nature-based solutions, say, okay? So we'll click on nature-based solutions. And then here, across, I'm just going to close this. Just get up here. I'm going to filter by plan here. So we can see these are all the plans across the ecosystem contributing to that shared outcome. Does that make sense? Yes. So we can see here that the Ouse Valley Climate Action Plan, you know, there's the community partnership here. There's Action in Rural Sussex, which is a community group. There's Southern Water, the water utility is here. And in fact, we can just disconnect all of these and we can just see, okay, we can just do them one by one if you want. So what's the South Downs National Park doing? So it's looking at natural flood environment. That's connecting across a nature-based solution to a water principle. You know, you can see, okay, what's this community group doing? So they are doing now, you know, something on their flood action, okay, flood action group. So that's interesting. We're already seeing a link between these two. And you can then, oh, I just need to move you across again. You can then go and view their plan and explore it further. Okay. So it connects them in this way. We can just see there is this, okay, so we've got here, this green infrastructure plan is that. So this is a council plan, which is contributing to this shared outcome. So people can just explore, okay, these are all the organizations who want to do something similar to me. Yeah, Ferial?
You're muted, Ferial.
Sorry, what about things like open APIs? Do you have this,
Yeah.
what I mean by this is because there's other, for example, at the moment, we're trying to organize with Kodu circles, right? But I think there's something that they can't provide what you're doing here right now. And it would be really amazing if we had organizing of our people in the one aspect of it, but then we could bring this part in for the, how do we strategize? How do we look at what we're doing and what we've got, our resources, etc. So do you have that kind of facility to do?
So we've just rebuilt the system to make it easy for us to expose our APIs. So we'll start exposing them as, so we're doing integrations, for example, for our customers where they're using Microsoft Teams, say, or Power BI or Monday.com, so that they can carry on using their own systems. And I always like to think of it as a heads-up display. So, you know, when you're on the detail in your left hemisphere, and then you're just only ever a click away from seeing the big picture, how your small action contributes to the big picture.
So Poonan, I have to say goodbye right now, but I'm super interested. I wanted to stay longer, but maybe could we set up an appointment soon? Because we're literally at the place of having to do this for Living Cities Earth.
Okay.
And
Brilliant.
I feel like this is the right tool for us.
Fantastic.
Right.
And we've got a little bit of functionality in the next couple of weeks, which is going to make that mapping really, really simple. So
I'm excited. So I'll just get in touch with you.
Just drop me an email or message or whatever, and we'll arrange a time.
Thank you. And so nice seeing the rest of you. Ciao for now.
Thank you all. Yeah. So I'll just show you one more function here. I know, so Paul's gone as well. So Cara, hello, Cara.
Hi.
Sorry you've missed some of this, but always happy to arrange another time. But
will the video of this be available on the YouTube site?
Yes, we are live, and I will send you the link to the YouTube recording just to chat here.
Fantastic. So we can also change lenses. I just want to see what have they done. Okay, so at a click of a button, you can change from OnePlanet Living to the SDGs. So now all the data is reorganized around the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and you can create a report on it. So, you know,
well, that's amazing.
It's not rocket science, but so anyone can start seeing, you know, and we can apply, in effect, an infinite number of you know, lenses to it. So you can see also it acts as a gap analysis, if you like. So this was what the South Downs had as their key themes that they're working on, but you can see some things are not covered by it. So it becomes they're realizing we should be more holistic because we're not meeting all the different areas. So so that's interesting. You can do very quick gap analyses of these things as well. And then people we're finding were able to, within seconds, when we looked at the shared outcomes, if you remember, and different organizations, literally within seconds, organizations were finding new ways of collaborating. They said, oh, I didn't know you were doing that. It's not that the information wasn't available. It wasn't easily available to people. And the other thing which was coming up is that organizations were saying our websites are out of date. So people don't know what we're doing now. And so if they use this just as a way of creating, managing their projects, they can, at a click of a button, I'll show you, make it public, or so that everyone is kept updated in real time if you want to keep them updated in that. So it becomes a much more dynamic thing. So we're talking to a couple of customers where they keep a couple of static pages, you know, about their mission, what they want to do, but then what they're doing, everything they're doing is now will be on OnePlanet and a link to OnePlanet. Does that sort of make sense? I can show here, otherwise I can go to our website. I'll go back here. I think I need to log out. Before I log out, is there anything else anyone in particular wants to see on this? I'll just show you. Yeah, I need to be in a plan. Yeah, so, yeah, does anyone want to see anything? So, yeah, I will show you. So, anything else anyone wants to see? No? Okay. I will log out and let me just log out. And then I can go to the website. So I'll go to the website. So this is the oneplanet.com website. Hopefully I'll open up in a sec. So here, and we're going to change the navigation on this, but basically people can publish what they're doing. So for example, this is anyone can do it. So you can go and do it. You can look at, say, Compost Club, and we'll link this to I'll show you to a geographic map as well. So I can go to Compost Club, and here, if you remember that case, you can see what he's doing. Then you can see his plans. We want to improve our navigation on this. But here you can go straight into his mind map. And we've got people saying, that's my brain on the page, on the screen. Yeah, you can just explore that, and you can see, you can't edit it, but you can explore what he's doing and find ways. We've got templates in here, so local councils are now using it for procurement, creating templates which are then modifiable and connectable. We've got business coaches, say regenerative business coaches, saying, okay, create a lens for me, I'll get my companies to start using, and then this, and then, for example, if you've got a company in a particular area, in a particular city, they can be coached, but then if the city is using it as well, they can connect to the city ecosystem. So any one plan can belong to more than one ecosystem. So it might be a coach's ecosystem, a regenerative business coach ecosystem. The plan can belong to that, but it can also belong to the city they're in. And so you can get people collaborating across ecosystems. Thanks, Catherine. Yep.
I am wondering how long it takes to set up.
Yeah, so depending, for a big ecosystem, it's an hour.
Wow.
For a single plan, it's zero time. To set up. So this he did himself without any training. And, it was just putting his thoughts down on paper. So you can do a company ecosystem, a company plan in half an hour, and then an ecosystem. So a government strategy, local council strategy, if you are mapping manually, when you're good at it, will take you 2 hours. So if you've got 30 strategies in a local government, you can have them all mapped in a week. And now when it's up on the system, so for example, when a council here, Enfield City Council used it, or Enfield Borough Council used it, they got it up on there, but now when they're redoing it, they just copied it and then they modified it on the system itself. And they use it for public consultation. So here I can just go back and I can show you, for example, how City Council is using it. In the right place, come on. So I can go back here. Publish plans. I can search Enfield. Let's see what comes up. No workspaces, but there are plans. Should be plans here. We'll just change that. So here's their climate action plan, which they created on OnePlanet and which they're sharing with the public. So you can just explore. You can also see it in PDF form, but you can go there and they've got their own lens. So they have council operations, travel, buildings, waste, energy, whatever. So you can just see, okay, what are they doing on buildings? And you can explore what they're doing on buildings. And it's easier to read for many people than a PDF.
Yeah.
You can explore it in the way you want to explore it. Oh, I'm most interested in waste. Okay, let me look at waste. And then you can see how all these things start fitting together. So it gets this. And if they change it as you're doing it, for example, it'll just appear live here. So it's totally dynamic. And then you can just, Okay. And I'll show you one more example. Just get out of this one. And I will go back in because I'll show you how easy it is to create a outcome action indicator and connect it. I should have shown that earlier, but I'm going to go to, so Transition Towns. Are you familiar with the Transition Towns initiative? So here, Transition Town Worthing, lovely Pauline. If you go to oneplanet.com, you'll also see some case study videos. So you'll see Pauline from Transition Town Worthing here. But we can go here and in fact, we can view the plan here. As I say, we want to improve the navigation here. You can see their interactive map, or you can download it as a PDF. But here, an interactive map. So this is the resources that they have mapped to help Transition Town become a Transition Town Worthing, which is a town on the south coast of England, more sustainable. So if you're interested, for example, let me see in, let's go to waste because I know that one well. To just get out. I'm just going to filter this. Okay, so I'm going to hide all. Come on. Oh, don't know what's on there. Yeah, just take. And I'm going to look at waste. And it should come up. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry, I'm just navigating at the moment. It's just got, the trouble is I've got the bar, I've got the zoom bar in the way of my navigation at the bottom. So I can't see where I am on this. Okay, there we are. There you are. Come back. Okay. So you do have a navigation there, which I can't access at the moment without leaving Zoom, but I will just slowly do it this way. So you can see their main action there is to reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, okay? Then you can see, okay, what can I do? I can go to the refill project. You can just click on that and then you can find out. It should just open, come on. Come on, you should open. Okay, then you can go to the refill project. You can navigate to their website, for example. So you can go to their website. We got Compost Club is one of the people here. So you can go here and then you can navigate either to his website. He's got his details there, or you can go straight to his mind map. So you can jump from mind map to mind map. So people are saying it's like, I'm able to explore someone else's brain here, you know, how they're thinking. So we can do that. Oh, and I should go back. Let me go back. Is it here? Okay.
What about cost?
What about cost? Did you say what about? Sorry, was that cost?
Yeah. What about cost?
So we got our plans. So we got single plans and ecosystem plans. Single plans go from £3 to £500 a year. So no one is excluded on the basis of price. Ecosystem plans go from £3 to £40,000 a year for a large ecosystem, which say a council wants to use, which then enables all their council officers to use it. So that's what we've done. But I just want to show here, we can automatically link to a geographic map as well. So all those organizations are now also mapped geographically, and we'll improve this. So you can go from a conceptual map to a geographic map.
That's really brilliant.
So I will just show one, I'll just log in again, actually, because I just want to show you how easy it is to create an outcome action indicator. I will just come, I'll just log in, dashboard. Yeah, so, okay. So here we're creating a resilience plan for Brighton, where I live, but I'm just going to go in here. This is an energy services company who have started using it. So you can create an outcome. What do you want to achieve? Let's just, these are an energy services company. I don't know, does someone want to call out an outcome? Don't worry about what this, whether it's good or not, but what might an outcome be for a community energy company?
Managing load.
Okay, that's a good one. Manage load. Brilliant. Fantastic. So you can just create it that way. Oh, if I can type, especially if I'm not in capital. Manage load. Okay, so that's an outcome we want to achieve. I'm going to allocate that to 0 carbon energy. So I can add that outcome. And there, it's automatically appeared here. Okay.
Wow.
And then you can say, okay, what actions do you want? Okay, what's an action we can take to manage load? Catherine?
Reduce use, I guess.
Okay, reduce use.
Or shift use.
Shift use. Okay.
Strategy we're certainly using now.
Okay, shift use. So here we can add shift use. You can add some more information about it. You can, and this you can do for outcomes as well, but you can, you know, say when you're going to do it by if you want to. You can also add, I'm going to add it to 0 carbon again. So I can add the action here. Here it is. And you can add stories and case studies to this. So you can set a guidance. So all of that you can add to it so anyone can follow it. And then this is contributing to manage load. Okay, so you just press the link button and you just link it. And now that's not just linked visually, it's linked in the database. And then you can say, actually, shifting use might save people money, mightn't it? So here you've got an outcome of affordable service. So you could say, actually, that action is also contributing to an affordable service. So people can start seeing how everything interlinks. And then you can add an indicator. So what's an indicator of managed load? And it's peak. Is it peak demand or something?
Right.
So you can have peak demand. You set that up as an indicator. I'll have to delete all these because this is actually someone's plan. Peak demand. Actually, I quite like this. I might leave it to them to find and say, oh yeah, that was a good idea. So then I can link it across. So that's the outcome indicator. And then I can just click on this. Come on. Oh, so then I can, why is that? Let's have a look. I should be able to, I can set, here we are. Okay. I can then set case studies, monitoring, I can monitor it. I can set up the units. So peak demand is, probably it will be kilowatts or megawatts or something. Yeah. So the units is megawatts. We can have a target. We want to keep it under 38 megawatts. We can say normally we're now at 45. And then we can set a target date. We want to hit that by, next week. But then you can just monitor it here as well. But we're also integrating it with Power BI or other systems so that automatically you can get this data from other systems. So that's it, really. I'm going to discard changes. I might delete these, but I won't save it. So that's how easy it is to use. And in fact, people use it without training. Some people, they just get on there and they start playing around. We've got a help center, but people just click a few buttons and start understanding how it works.
It's wonderful.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, no, my mind is just filled with people who need to know this and see if we can't get it started here for a variety of reasons and then build it out.
Yeah. So yeah, love to hop on a call with you, Catherine. You can email me or connect on LinkedIn or whatever, and we're very happy to discuss how we can do that. Okay. Yeah, I can connect with you through OnePlanet, right? Correct. Yeah. If you go to oneplanet.com, you can connect. I mean, we have got here. You can just direct message us here as well. So you can just go to the website and do it, or you can email me, poonan.desai@oneplanet.com, whatever's easiest. So that's it. I hope you've found it interesting. If anyone, if we can help, we'd love to help. And again, if you want to make some suggestions on how we can use your stuff, very happy to as well. So, to hear that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, to see, I mean, a lot of the elements you've incorporated are elements we're not as far along as you are, but the system we're building is much more, it's very granular.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's an open source system.
Yeah.
Not a closed ecosystem. But it's, once again, I say to stress, it's not a platform, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I look at how you have these capabilities to connect anything to anything else, like in how the indie web would look at that is it's much broader at an individual knowledge workers level. So, for instance, if you have people working in the city, you know, and they have your software and working with it, like if the indie web was kind of underneath your software, then they could be using it as individuals for their own individual transformation as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really attracts like any kind of, like, say in the Zoom call as an example, Catherine and I and Ferio and everyone else learned about all these new things that you've introduced. If this was in the indie web context, it would actually be tracking each individual's new learning at that moment, right? So in a sense, it's like what you're doing would be a subset of this much broader kind of ecosystem, because you're like, for instance, you're saying you're focusing on the corporates and communities and governments, local governments, but the indie web is like a substrate for anyone to use.
Yeah.
Right. And that knowledge is
good stuff.
And it's not a closed database, it's a graph database as well, but it uses the IPFS network, which is the world's largest database, graph database.
Okay.
And so you can, once again, just like how you've done it in there, you can choose to make it private and encrypted, or else you can just make it public and transparent and shareable with everyone else, right?
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, really looking forward to learning more about that. I'll put up my email address, so don't hesitate to get in touch. But and reach out in any way you want to. So, Marina, any thoughts on that? I mean, I'm very happy to set up a session just to explore how, or how LCE could use it with Verial or whatever.
Sorry, I'm muted. Yes, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Poonan, for your presentation, and to all today's participants, because I think that it's really important, because just through the conversation, we are learning more and more. And because only in this dialogue, we can find out how we could be of any service to each other. So I really hope that thanks for today's meeting, we will be able to continue this dialogue and to find ways to collaborate and to connect to each other, and to align our approaches, our platforms, our visions, and to maybe set next steps, which could be useful for all the parties. So,
brilliant.
Yes, and again, thank you so much, and we will share this video with all our subscribers, and we will send it to the database of the cities which we are collecting constantly. So I really hope that today's meeting will help us disseminate this information to as much leaders in the cities and the world as possible. So thank you so much for
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Marina, and thank you everyone for attending.
Catherine, do you want to say something? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, since you guys are in the UK, are you familiar with Integral Cities in Marilyn, and her last name just went out of my
Marilyn
head.
Hamilton, yes, she's one of our co-founders.
Oh, good. I was thinking that would be a reasonable connection. So very good.
Thank you so much. Yes, such a small world.
Yes. Yeah, and the more we talk, the smaller it gets.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you, Poonan. Thank you, Kaiten.